This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good evening everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. We have a very special shiur this evening. We're continuing our Shiurim on Sefer Shemais, which are graciously sponsored by Dr. Zakheim Umeshpachta, Leila Nishmas Hashem Eliezer ben Rabbi Yaakov Zakheim, and Leila Nishmas, Dr. Zakheim's mother, Rivka Bas Tzvi Halevi, and Reb David ben Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi HaKohen. Tonight's shiur is dedicated by our dear friend Reb Avi and Shira Tuckman in honor of their son Yitzi's engagement to Yocheved Teitelbaum. Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Should be b'shtat tov v'matzlachas, and there should be Zoicha Livnois B'Hais Nama B'Yisrael. Tonight's shiur is dedicated by Rabbi Yitzchak Yeager, the author of the Chashuvah series Guidelines. Le'ilei Nishmas, his father, Reb Elisha Meir ben Reb Alexander Zusha. Ziyar said was Yud Ches Adar Aleph. Tonight's shiur is also dedicated by Rabbi Yaakov Mizrachi. Should be Zoicha Yimali Hashem Shas Libay L'Toiva, and also by Yehuda Libovics. Bracha v'Hatzlacha. Okay, tonight's shiur is about two Adars. So in honor of two Adars, you have two options on the new Sefer, the concealed and the revealed. You could have the big version. The big version you put on your shelf, and you take it out. This way, when people come to your house, it looks like you're well read. This one you take with you. It fits in the pocket. It fits in Shalach Manas. No good Shalach Manas can be without it. You know this thing. Shakespeare once said, "No good Shalach Manas could be without it." And if you really want to look learned, and this looks very good on the shelf, the Lashon HaKodesh version. Now there happens to be an inside, but even if you never open it up, look how nice it looks on the shelf. And people will come to your house. Let's say you have a son-in-law, and he sees this on your shelf. It will look like, Epis, you know something. Or let's say you invite people to your house. You want them to think that you're very learned. And then you could take out the inside and give the inside to somebody who will actually, you buy it, and the purpose is to learn it. The cover is, just a mask. Okay, Chodesh Adar. Let us begin. We know that the 12 months of the year are associated with various mazalos. And Mazal Adar Dagim. The Mazal of Adar is fish. Fish. So the first thing we have to ask, which fish? Tuna fish, salmon, trout, Chilean sea bass. What kind of gefilte fish? What kind of fish are the Mazal of Adar? And come to think of it, all the other months of the year, the Mazal is singular. You have Deli as a bucket, not Deliyim. You have Akrav, not Akravim. You have... What? Yeah, it's very hard to have one Ta'omim singular, That's a hard thing to pull off. Yeah, Ta'omim is plural because by definition, twin has to be singular. It has to be double, Rabim. But all the other mazalos are Lashon Yachid. Why Mazal Adar is Lashon Rabim? So let's begin with the comments of Rab Tzadok HaKohen in Machshavos Charetz. And he introduces a very important principle, and that is the 12 months of the year correspond to the 12 Shvatim. What does that mean? That means even though all of Klal Yisrael is one, we're Goy Echad Ba'aretz, we're one entity, nevertheless, there are 12 Shvatim. Each Shevet has its own personality, has its own characteristics, has its own nature, and therefore, there's also an important concept of Ashan. You know what Ashan is? Olam, Shana, Nefesh. What's Olam, Shana, Nefesh? That there are places and times and people that converge. Meaning, there are places in the world that correspond to times of the year that correspond to people. So for example, the Holy of Holies, the Kodesh HaKadoshim, corresponds to Yom HaKippurim, corresponds to the Kohen Gadol. Okay, you get the idea? That there are certain spheres of existence that play out in place, in time, and in people. Likewise, there are certain Shvatim that correspond to certain times of the year. The 12 Shvatim correspond to the 12 months. And just like each Shevet had its own unique characteristic, each month of the year has its own special characteristic. Now, many years ago, not so many years ago, a few years ago, we gave a shir on which Shevet corresponds to which month. And if you remember, there are many mahalchim, there are many approaches. You have the Sefer HaYetzira, you have the Ravid, you have Reb Tzadok HaKohen, or you have Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshis, Reb Levi Yitzchak Abarditchev, and in the humble Sefer Magad Rakia on Shemais, we printed a grid, a chart, going through all the shitos and which month corresponds to which Shevet. Reb Tzadok HaKohen says that he is going to outline the most simple approach, which Shevet corresponds to the month of Adar, and he says he saw in the Sefer Kedushas Levi that Chodesh Adar, which mazel is dogim, is keneged Yosef. Because what was the bracha to Yosef? V'yidgu l'rayv. V'yidgu l'rayv. And, just like dogim is plural, Adar is plural, could be plural. And just like Yosef was broken into two, Menashe and Ephraim, so to Adar could be Adar Rishon, Adar Shein. In other words, there's no Asher, there's no, Nisan Aleph, Nisan Beis, Av Aleph, Av Beis, because no other Shevet has two, is broken down into two. But since Yosef is broken down to two, he is perfectly suited to the month of Adar. Now, who is Iker? Menashe or Ephraim? Ephraim. Yoshua ben Nun came from Ephraim. Just like Ephraim was Iker, Adar Beis is Iker, Adar Beis is Ephraim, and therefore Ephraim is a lashon of Ki Hifrani Elikim Pru Uravu, just like Fish is our Para Verava. And what is Chodesh Nisan? Who's Chodesh Nisan? Which Shevet? Yehuda. Now, Reb Tzadok HaKohen, in his Sefer Divrei Chalomis were various dreams that Reb Tzadok HaKohen had. Now, back in the day, my grandmother of blessed memory would tell me that her father, who was the last Rav of Sachachav, one of his big jobs in Sachachav is people would come to him and tell him their dreams. And he would have to interpret the dreams. And in my very long and rabbinic career, I can't tell you many people have come to me with dreams, maybe over the years, 3 or 4, something like that. I remember back in Queens, somebody came with it was a whole maisa with a spider, but that's a story for a different occasion. But Reb Tzadok HaKohen recorded the dreams that he had. And in his dream, he saw that the months of the year correspond to the 12 Shvatim, and the month of Adar corresponds to Shevet Yosef, just like Yosef is Menashe and Ephraim, Adar is Yosef. And that is why, says Reb Tzadok HaKohen, all the kings from Shevet Yosef have an ascendancy in the month of Adar. What kings come from Yosef? Yehoshua. When was Yehoshua appointed? Anybody know? What date did Yehoshua become the king? Ches Adar. In Adar. So Yehoshua became king in Adar. That's because Adar is the month of Yosef. On the other hand, David HaMelech was appointed in Nisan. The beginning of Rosh Hashanah is Be'echad B'Nisan, Rosh Hashanah L'Melachim. So Adar is the month of Yosef, and Nisan is the month of David and Yehuda. And La'asalavai, Mashiach ben Yosef will come in Adar, and Mashiach ben David will come in Nisan. Furthermore, we destroy Amalek in Adar, because right after Amalek is destroyed, Mashiach ben Yosef, and then Mashiach ben David. Which may highlight, the Gemara says, when do we lay in the Megillah? Do we lay in the Megillah in Adar Aleph or in Adar Beis? The Gemara says we lay in Adar Beis. Why? L'mitzvah gula l'gula. So we could say, not just the Geula of Purim to the Geula of Pesach, but there's an idea, the Geula of Mashiach ben Yosef, represented by Purim, and Mashiach ben David. By the way,
have clarity on that. When Mashiach comes, what does it mean? What does that mean?
What does it mean when Mashiach comes?
In the rest of the year, when we say, like, what's Shabbos, Mashiach, whatever. Mashiach, Mary, should come right now.
Meaning it could come anytime, so what does it mean, Dafka Nisan? Yeah. So Reb Shimon Schwab said, he asked this to the Chafetz Chaim, what does it mean, B'Nisan Nigalu? but we say Achak Aloi B'chol Yom She'avai. Says a Nisan, it's 50-50. Very high chances. If you're betting, if you want to bet on a month, pick Nisan. Okay, for the better's guide, Mashiach is Chodesh Nisan. Now, the Kedushas Levi in this week's parsha, because I know many people, they only come if the shir is on the parsha. The only thing is this week is not Tetzaveh, but it's close enough, right? The Kedushas Levi says in Parshas Tetzaveh that the mazal of Adar is Dug. Dug. Now I like the word Dug. Anybody know why? It's my initials. It's my initials. Dug, right? But actually Dayug, fisherman, Daniel, Yaakov, yeah? But Dug backward is Gud. Gud, what does Gud mean in Lashon Kodesh? Good luck. Gud, Gedi, yeah, Gud is Mazal. So Adar is Dug because Adar is the month of good Mazal. It's the month of Menashe and Ephraim. But furthermore, the Kedushas Levi says like this. Why do we say Dug? Dug. Not that puzzle company. What Dug and what's the? Yeah, not that Dug, right? Not the English Dug. Daled Gimel. Daled Gimel. Why Daled Gimel? The Gemara says in Masechta Shabbos, Aleph Beis, Aleph Bina. Aleph Beis stands for learn Torah. Gimel Daled stands for Gemoil Dalim. Bestow to the poor. Grand kindness to the poor. So the Gimel is the benefactor, Gemoil. The Daled is the poor guy. The month of Adar is Dug. We start with the Daled, the poor person. In other words, it started off with difficulty, with tragedy. It started off with a tzara, but ultimately it will be Gimel. Gimel is the benefactor. Ultimately it will be a month of Ashirus. Now let's talk about the following question. Are you supposed to be happy in Adar Aleph? Or many people enjoy being depressed. They get a kick out of it. It makes them feel good. They like to be grumpy. Most of the people like to be grumpy. They like to be grouchy. They like to complain. They like to be, the word a curmudgeon, They just like to be, and deep down they're happy, but they don't even want to admit they're happy, so they make believe they're miserable about being miserable. So I want to know, when do you have to be happy in Adar Aleph? Or could you say, no, I could wait until Adar Beis. Now I could be grouchy, and I'm going to wait, Mishanichnas Adar Marben B'Simcha. When does it begin? When does it start? When does it start? All the Gemara says is Mishanichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. So what does Rashi say on that? Rashi famously says that why do we rejoice in Adar? Rashi says, look at number 5, Yemei Nisim Hayu Yisrael. They were days of miracles for the Jewish people. Purim uPesach. Adar are days of miracles. Purim and Pesach. What's the obvious question on Rashi?
Because Purim was in Pesach.
Correct. Purim is not Pesach.
No, I'm saying all the story with Mordechai and this was in Pesach.
What's the kasha on Rashi? Mishanichnas Adar, Yemei Nisim Hayu Yisrael, Purim uPesach.
It's in Nisan.
Pesach. What's Rashi talking about? Purim uPesach. Pesach, friends, is not in Adar. Pesach is in Nisan. So comes Rabbi Yaakov Emden in She'elas Yavitz. And Rabbi Yaakov Emden is bothered. Why does Rashi say Pesach when Pesach is in the month of Adar, when Pesach is in the month of Nisan and not Adar? Says Rabbi Yaakov Emden, because Rashi is bothered by a kasha. If Purim alone was a reason to rejoice in Adar, then why shouldn't we say Mishanichnas Kislev Marbin B'Simcha or Mishanichnas Nisan Marbin B'Simcha? What's special about Purim? The answer Rashi's answering is, one Yom Tif will never make a month a joyous month. You need back to back. You need two. So what Rashi's saying is, Purim uPesach. Kislev, you don't have to be happy because it's only one Yom Tif. Other months you don't have to be happy, but the fact that you have the fusion of two joyous months together, that's why we say Mishanichnas Adar Mar B'Simcha. However, says Rabbi Yaakov Emden, another reason why Rashi says Pesach is because there's the following question. When do we start being happy in Adar? Adar Aleph or Adar Beis? Rashi said Purim and Pesach to say it's Dafka the Adar next to Pesach. Adar Aleph, you could be a grouch, you could be miserable, you could be depressed, you could be down in the dumps. Okay, I know that makes you happy.
So how come we have Purim?
Only, Purim Katan, there's no such thing. None of the Talmidei Baal Shem ever said boo on Purim Katan. They didn't say anything, they don't do anything. No Chasidim commemorate Purim Katan. Why? Look in the Minchas Elazar. Minchas Elazar did not observe any Purim Katan. Shushan Purim? Shushan Purim is better than any Purim you ever saw. Purim Katan? No. Believe me, if they would have celebrated Purim Katan, they would market it. The fact that you don't see any recognition of Purim Katan, it's because the Iker Purim is the second one. We don't
say on, so at least that would be something to say. Well, you can't be sad. Maybe you can't be.
Yeah, but by Hasidim,
because we don't say Tachna.
by Hasidim, there's more. They don't say Tachnan more than Purim Katan. Yeah. Okay, so
all the Rebbe's make Tishin on Purim.
not
All the Rebbe's.
it's a Nayazach. But back in the day, nobody said, no Talmidei Baal Shem said boo on Purim Katan. That's what the Minchas Elazar said. The real,
Corrected that.
let them know right now. Okay, none of the real Talmidei Baal Shem did anything on Purim Katan. So this is the opinion of Rabbi Yaakov Emden, that the Mishnichnas Adar Mar B'Simcha begins Dafka on the second Adar. But I found the tshuva in the Chassam Sofer. Chassam Sofer in Choshen Mishpelke number 14, Siman Chaf. He concludes his tshuva. Boiker L'Yom Gimel, the morning of the third of a Tuesday, Shenichbal B'Ki Tov, Aleph to Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon, the first day of Rosh Chodesh Adar Rishon, Shemar bin Boy B'Simcha. Adar Rishon, that we begin to rejoice. So we see the Chassam Sofer argues on Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and he says, even now you have to be happy. Okay, so pal, snap out of it. Okay, get that growl off your face and smile, big, from ear to ear. You know what ear to ear? Rabbi Yitzchak, you know what ear to ear? All the way. Show your teeth. Your white teeth, your smile, the winning smile. Yeah?
You're supposed to be with Simcha all year.
Who says? Who says you're supposed to be with Simcha?
You got to do with Simcha. Everything you do with Simcha.
Nah, it's a machlokes. Not everybody agrees you have to be happy all the time. You know, they say, mitzvah gedolah liyas b'simcha. Not everybody agrees with that. No.
Ivdu et Hashem b'simcha.
Yeah, Ivdu es Hashem. David HaMelech says Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha. Ivdu es Hashem, that's when you're Ivdu es Hashem.
Every day you daven.
Yeah, but the rest of the time, you know. Okay, but this is very interesting. Machlokes Achronim. When does Mishenichnas Adar Mar B'Simcha begin? Rabbi Yaakov Emden says Adar Beis. Chassam Sofer says Adar Aleph. Let's talk about the two Adars. Now, we know that some years there are 13 months in the year. Actually, 7 out of every 19 years is an Ibrayar. And, if I'm not mistaken...
Yeah. Goach Hatzat.
What?
Goach Hatzat. El, Si,
No. There is a very interesting mnemonic. Somebody told me, a rabbi I met in Chicago told me a mnemonic, Goach Adzad. How do you know that?
I know it from third grade.
From what?
I didn't study in the United States.
See, this man had an education. Goach Adzat. It's in the book. By the way, it's worthwhile to get the book just for Goach Adzat. Goach Adzat is Gimel, Vav, Ches.
Yud Aleph.
Aleph.
What?
Yud Aleph.
11.
Aleph, it's Yud Aleph.
Yud Aleph?
Yeah.
Only
11,
11, 14.
14, 17, 19. Which yeshiva did you go to? Your parents got their money's worth.
I learned it
You
there.
know, for elementary school, I went to what's called religious public school. It's not like today. At that time.
Goach adzat. That's the mnemonic. So the question is, why did Chazal pick Dafka Adar to have as a second Adar? Why don't we have a second? Imagine we had a second Nisan. Imagine after Pesach, you told your wife, this year there's a second Nisan. You have to clean again. You won't even get chametz stick. You'd go Pesach stick for 6 weeks straight. Or imagine, why Dafka the month of Adar? So, what?
We have Pesach Sheni.
Yeah, Pesach. We don't have Nisan Sheni, right? And that your Pesach Sheni, you put matzah on top of your pizza, So, and so the Levush is bothered. Why do we Dafka pick the month of Adar to double up? So he says a very interesting answer. He says because the Navi always calls Adar the 12th month. And if we would pick any other month to double up, then Adar would come out the 13th month. So we have no alternative but to double up Adar. But then he says the real reason is because the Torah says, Shamar es Chodesh Aviv. Guard the season of the spring to make Pesach Dafka in the spring. So the best way to guard something is to be right there. Imagine if I told you, I got a new job. What's my job? I'm guarding the border of Gaza right now. Really? How am I guarding it? I have on my phone. I have a camera. You can't guard something if you're not there. So you can't guard Nisan unless you're in close proximity. So the proper way to guard Nisan is to have a second Adar. But then the Levush drops a bombshell. He says, which is the Ikar Adar? Adar Beis. Okay, that we know. And what's Adar Aleph? Adar Aleph is not a month. It's not a month. It's a placeholder of days. It's a collection of days. Adar Aleph is not a month. You hear this? We're not in a month right now. They added, you know what the proof is? Adar always has 29 days. But Adar Aleph has 30 days. Why? Because it's not Adar. It's not Adar. And the proof is, we don't lay in the Megillah. And we don't make Purim. Fine, you want to be a little happy, we'll say Toiv Lev Mishta Tamid. But of course, like the Talmidei Baal Shem, they don't even say what on Purim. They don't even say boo on Purim. When I say boo, they don't even say boo to Haman. Nothing. They don't do nothing on Purim Katan. Adar Aleph, says Levush, is not a month. What's the mazel of Adar Aleph? No, it's Shavat. Dali. We're still in Dali. Shavat is 59 days in an Iber Yar. So look in number 13, that Safnas Paneach asks, then why don't we call it Delayim? But he asked the Kasha. But the Mazel, we're still in the bucket. We're still in the bucket. What? Who says you should be Mavarch the Chaydash? By the way, the tefillah that we say by Shabbos Mavarchim, Rav said that tefillah every single day. This is the tefillah, the Gemara Bracha says, Rav ended off the Bracha. The Mavarchim doesn't have any halachic status. Well, and what are we going to do? We need a way to get people to come to Shul at least once a month. Can you imagine if we call it Shabbos Mavarchim, and the people come and they sway and they shuckle when the Chazan says when the Moilad's going to be in Yerushalayim in Yiddish. Ki'ilu, that's a very spiritual moment, right?
So on a get, according to Levush, if you wrote Shvat, it's going to be a good get?
No, of course not. But it's still Shvat. It's not. The Levush says, Adar Aleph is so you'll ask, so why do we call it Adar? And even more, a better kasha. Adar Aleph is called Adar. Adar Beis is called Adar Sheni. So it sounds like the Ikar Adar is Aleph. Says Levush, it's because we have no choice. Because back in the day when they were Mekadesh Al Pi Re'iyah, they didn't know until close to the end of the month whether that month was going to be Adar Aleph or Adar Beis. They didn't know if they're going to be two or not. So what are they going to say in the beginning of the month? They had to say it's Adar. And then if there's going to be a second Adar, so they'll call it Adar Beis. But in order to preserve what it was originally called, the first Adar is Adar, even though it's not Adar. And the second Adar is the Ikar Adar. That's the Shita of the Levush. By the way, that's the Shita of the Levush. That's Shita number one. Shita number two is the Marsha. The Marsha in Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Beis, look at number 11. He says, Yisrael Mechashvin Yud Beis Chodshei Alavana Klal Yisrael count the 12 months of the moon. Neged Yud Beis Shvatim, corresponding to the 12 Shvatim. V'oid Chodesh Ibor is Keneged, the Shevet of Yosef, that's divided into two. V'heim Beis Adarim Shemazoloi Dogim. The Marsha says there are two Adars, and both Adars are fish. By the way, I saw something in the Sefer of Isser Doiv Cook, a davar nifla ma'od. Why Adar is Keneged Yosef. In what month, we have two calendars. We have the solar, which is 365, and the lunar is 354. And because the solar is 11 days longer than the lunar, and a quarter. Because it's 11 and a quarter more, the solar calendar is jumping ahead, 11 days, right? Every year. That's why Ramadan, which is coming up, is called the floating holiday, because it could come out any time of the year. It could be in the summer, it could be in the winter, it could be in the spring, it could be, right? When I was a kid, there were, we'll put this off the camera, right? Remember, there were famous sporting events, when very tall players were in the finals, and they were fasting. Remember this? But it could come at any time. There's no scheduling it. It's not like the American calendar. It's scheduled for Monday. Every national holiday, it's a Monday or a Thursday. Can't do that. The Ramadan is a floating holiday. But the holiday of Klal Yisrael, we reconcile the solar with the lunar. When? When do we reconcile the solar with the lunar? In Adar. Adar is when the sun and the moon come together. In whose dream did the sun and the moon make peace? Yosef. In Yosef's dream, the sun and the moon bow down to each other. So therefore, Yosef is the Shevet that represents the harmonizing of the sun and the moon. And therefore his month is Chodesh Adar. Very beautiful idea. Okay. By the way, in the Sefer Devar Yoim B'Yoimai, which was published about 100 years ago, he points out that all the other mazalos, Tleh, Shar, Sirtan, Aryeh, Besula, Akrav, Keshes, Gedi, Dali are Yachid. Dogim is plural. Why? For Chodesh Adar. Adar Aleph and Adar Beis. So we have another shita here that Adar has both Adarim are Dogim. By the way, Kedushas Levi also says Adar is Keneged Yosef, and that's why it's Nimshal Dogim. And in the Sefer Yafel Alev is the son of Reb Chaim Falaji, Reb Rachamim Nisim Yitzchak. He quotes, this is pretty amazing to me, that a Svardik Gadol would quote Sifrei Chasidus. Very interesting. He quotes Kedushas Levi, that also Adar is Keneged Yosef, and there are two Adars, just like Yosef is Menashe and Ephraim. And Rabbi Yaakov Emden also says, both Adars are Mazal Dogim. So Levush says, Adar Aleph is a bucket, and Adar Beis is a fish, and the Marsha, and the Kedushas Levi, and the Yafel Alev, and Rabbi Yaakov Emden says, they're both fish. And now, we're going to take a little poll. And whoever's on Zoom, I'm going to let you speak up. Okay, but only this time. Who here was born in an Adar Beis? Nobody? Wow. Anybody on the Zoom? Wow. No one here born in Adar Beis. Wow. The last time I once asked this question, and my friend Eli Sisma, his birthday is coming up in Adar Beis. I'm going to give him a shout out. But over the years, I met very few people who were born in an Adar Beis. You ready for this? So we have two shitas so far, a third shita. Moshe Rabbeinu comes to Yehoshua, and he says, we're going to fight Amalek. Bechar lanu anoshim, choose men. Says the Chizkuni, what men? Men who were born in Adar Sheni. Because if you're born in Adar Sheni, you don't have to worry about Kishuf. Why? Because Adar Sheni has no mazel. You don't have to worry about Ayin Hara. The Bnei Amalek were Mechashafim. And if there's no mazel, Kishuf doesn't work. In fact, Rabbeinu Ephraim, one of the early Rishonim, he says, Bechar lanu. Bechar is Gematria 210, is Gematria Adar. So he says, no, it's not. Adar is 205. He says, it's Gematria Vi-Adar. Bechar is Gematria Vi-Adar. Yeah, but you're off by one. You could be off by one. Okay? So he says, Bechar is Gematria Vi-Adar. The Chida. Did I tell you what happened? The Chida? I can't believe it. I visited the Chida last week. I tell you what happened? And the Chida's yard said was Yud Aleph Adar. And I wanted to be, now he was since moved to Eretz Yisrael, and I wanted to be at his original burial spot on the day of his Patira, Yud Aleph Adar. But the logistics didn't work out, so I was there Yud Beis. Okay, you could be off by one, right? Then on Shabbos I was learning, the Chida was nifter on Parsha Zachar. He was nifter on Shabbos. So he was buried on Yud Beis. So I was there at the spot that he was buried on the day he was buried. Only 218 years later to the day. See, we try to schedule it that I should be there Yud Aleph. The Chida says, no. I'll take care of the logistics. I'll take care of the scheduling. Make sure you get there on the right day. Sometimes in life you think you're going to plan. No, they have it covered. Anyway, the Chida also says Kishuf doesn't work in Adar Sheni. So if you're a magician, don't try for any gigs in Adar Sheni. The magic's not going to work. By the way, there's an amazing Rashi in Baba Basra Daf Pei. Rashi says that pigeons, I was once invited to do the mitzvah of Shulach HaKein in Williamsburg. And we did the mitzvah, and I was presented with the eggs. And so what am I going to do with the eggs? They said, eat them. I said, eat Brooklyn pigeon eggs? Brooklyn pigeons? They said, the eggs are much cleaner than any eggs you get in the store. These pigeons are so healthy, they work like clockwork. Every single month, exactly to the day, they give birth to a Zachar or Nekeva. Zachar or Nekeva. Their fertility is so precise. And by the way, then the Zachar marries the Nekeva. But Rashi and Baba Basra says, in Chodesh Adar, they don't give birth. Just thought I would throw that out. Okay? So don't go to the Brooklyn Navy Yard in Adar. It's not going to work. But
Yosef is also on the shore, so
yeah, Yosef is above Ayin Hara. But Adar Aleph is Dagim. Adar Beis is nothing. There's no mazel in Adar Beis. By the way, Bnei Yissaschar also quotes this from Rabbeinu Ephraim and from the Chida, and he brings it from Kadmonim. And now I want to bring up something that I think I'm going to talk about another week. A Yerushalmi that says that in the year the Purim story happened, was it a regular Adar? Or was it an Iber Yar? Yerushalmi says it was an Iber Yar, and it happened in Adar Beis. And maybe next week, or in a coming week, we're going to give 4 Biurim in the Yerushalmi. Okay? But the Bnei Yissaschar says the simple explanation is it happened in an Adar Beis, because Adar Beis, Haman wanted to put Kishuf on us, and it was ineffective. Why? Because Adar Beis has no mazel. There's no mazel in Adar Beis. By the way, Haman thought that Moshe was a mechashef and Yeshua was a mechashef, and that's how they were successful. So Haman was very afraid. But then when he saw that the lad fell out in Adar Beis, a month that has no mazel, he was happy because he said, now they can't pull kishuf on me. Okay. And now
there's no mazel in Adar.
There's no mazel.
When is the mazel in Adar?
Only Adar Aleph.
But you said before Adar Aleph is not a month.
There are 3 shitas. Shita number 1 is the Lavush. Adar Aleph is not a month, it's part of Shvat. Adar Beis is the only Adar, that's the first shita. The Lavush shita. The second shita, the Marsha, Kedushas Levi, is they're both Adar and they're both Dagim. And the third shita is Adar Aleph is Dagim and Adar Beis is nothing. No mazel at all. So there are three shitas on this. And now the moment we've all been waiting for.
According to the third sheet,
Yeah.
which is a more important month?
Adar Beis.
Still Adar Beis?
Yeah, but it would come out according to the third shita. You should take down your Mazel Adar Dagim signs in Adar Beis. What are you doing? Right? It's ridiculous. There's no mazel in Adar. I mean, if you like fish, eat it. But why are you putting up a sign? There's no mazel Adar dugim in Beis. According to the first shita, don't have it up in Adar Aleph. So maybe you shouldn't have signs in double Adar, because either way you do it, or you should write. I'm going to come out with a new sign. Okay, this is going to be very popular. We're going to have a sign, two different signs. Mazel Adar dugim Aleph, according to Rabbeinu Ephraim. It's going to say Lefi Rabbeinu Ephraim. And then for Adar Beis, Lefi the Levush. I'm sure that's going to be, it's going to... Yeah, Rabbeinu Ephraim, you want to make Rabbeinu Ephraim Tali on Ephraim? Yeah, I hear that. Okay, now here's the bombshell. How is it possible that a month has no mazel? How could a month not have mazel? And also, could somebody tell me what kind of fish Adar is connected with? Maybe we should eat that kind of fish. How come you never hear, it's Adar, let's go eat fish? Right? Fish. In Av, everyone's busy with fish. People are so delusional. They say, that tuna steak, it's mamish like a piece of real steak. Are you kidding me? How could you be so self-delusional to think that a piece of tuna fish is like an actual steak? I mean, it's unbelievable. But you hear about people eating fish in Av, but in Adar, why don't people eat fish? So, I want to share with you something that is Oyam V'Naira. The Torah says in the beginning of Bereshis, Vayivra Elokim es hataninim hagdoilim, that the Rebbeinu Shem created the big sea monsters. Rashi says, Dogim gedoilim shabiyam, big fish. Uvedivrei agada hu Levyasan uben zugai, the Levyasan and his mate. God created the Levyasan, male and female. And ultimately, God killed the female and salted it for the tzaddikim l'asad lavai, because if they would ever mate and procreate, they would destroy the whole world. The Gemara in Bava Basra talks about the Levyasan, and the Gemara says, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Zel Levyasan nachash beriach, v'Levyasan nachash akalasain. The male Levyasan is the straight snake. The female Levyasan is the crooked snake. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chavar, don't think that the fish of Chodesh Adar is some fuzzy-wuzzy, cutesy, adorable fish that makes you feel good, that blows bubbles, and you want to give it a... No, we're not talking about that kind of fish. We're talking about big fish. We're talking about big snakes. The mazel of Adar is Levyasan, Nachash Beriach, v'Nachash Akalosain. The mazel of Adar are the two greatest destructive forces in the whole world. Otherwise, Haman saw that the mazel of Adar is fish. It was scary, right? Really scary. Fish. I could think of a million things that are scarier than fish. Eitan. Not now, but fish are not. Come on. People don't have nightmares from fish. Tigers, lions, lepers, fish.
Sharks. You don't want to swim with
Are sharks fish? Or they're what are?
You don't want to swim next to a whale.
What?
It's not a fish, it's a mammoth.
There you have it. It's not a fish. Fish, says the Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver, the fish that's Mazel Adar is the Nachash Bariach, the straight snake, and the crooked snake. And these two snakes, if they ever got together, they would destroy the world.
Akalaton is not serpent.
It's crooked, it's curved. Akalason, curved, not straight. Says Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver, you know which snake this is? It's the Nachash HaKadmoini and the Samach Mem. The Mazel of Adar is death. The Nachash HaKadmoini and the Samach. Now, if the Nachash HaKadmoini and the Samach Mem ever got together, they'll destroy the world. You know when they get together? When there's Machloikis and Klal Yisrael. When there's Pirud Halavavais. When we separate, you see, there are two forces in the world. The force of good is Kudshabrichu Ushchinte. The force of evil is the Samach Mem and the Nachash. When there's unity in Klal Yisrael, Kutsha Brichu Shchinte come together, and the Nachash and the Samach Mem separate. But when there's Machloikis in Klal Yisrael, the Samach Mem and the Nachash come together, and Kutsha Brichu Shchinte separate. You know, we always talk about Jewish unity. The thing is, no one has any idea why it's so important. Why is Achdus important? It's important because it's good for a kumzitz. Because if you don't have Achdus, then you can't have a kumzitz. It has nothing to do with the kumzitz. Well, Achdus is good because it makes me feel warm. I don't care what it makes you feel. It's irrelevant how you feel. Why is Achdus important? Because it's fuzzy. Achdus cuts to the core of how the Rebbeinu Shem runs the world. For the Rebbeinu Shem to be able to be mative to Klal Yisrael, we need Ichud Kudshabrichu Shchinte. When there's Achdus in Klal Yisrael, then the Samach Mem and the Nachash separate, and the Kudshabrichu Shchinte come together. When there's Machloikis, Kudshabrichu and the Shechina separate, and the Samach Mem and the Nachash come together. Adar Aleph is the male of Yasan. Adar Beis is the female of Yasan. You know, it's an amazing thing. You know that at every single meal you have to have a Zecher L'Chorban, Rabbi Yaakov Emden says, except for Sudas Purim. You know why? Sudas Purim is Sudas L'Vyasan. Sudas Purim is the Suda of L'Asad Lava. It's like from the Achras Hayomim. Adar Beis is the L'Vyasan. The best security blanket is to separate the male from the female. You know how we separate the male from the female? In Ibriyar. In an Ibriyar. So we separate, the male is Adar Aleph, the female is Adar Beis. The greatest security for Klal Yisrael is in Ibriyar. Maybe that's why the year Haman was scheduled to eradicate us was in Ibriyar. And our safety was that Nachash, Haman, couldn't get together with his mate. This is Rabbi Yitzchak Isaac Chaver. Mazel, now you know. Now, so all these Mazel Adar Dagim signs, I mean, they're all a scam. They have these nice cutesy fish. It's a scary fish. I don't want to hurt the Mazel Adar Dagim business. I also bought it because I want to support them. I support Mazel Adar Dagim signs. But really, and the thing is, if you put a real picture up, nobody would come to shul. People it would be too scary. So we don't have a choice. We have to put like a cutesy picture. So that's why, you know, when your kids are in elementary school, they say, what kind of fish? Just tell them whatever kind of fish you want. A clownfish, I don't know. But if you want to know really what kind of fish is Mazel Adar Dagim, it's the force of destruction. Otherwise, how do we understand why Haman was Mesameach when he saw Mazel Adar Dagim? Comes Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, and he likewise says, Mazel Adar Dagim is the male of Yasan and the female of Yasan. And says Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz, and this will explain, you know why there's no Mazel and Adar Beis? Because God took the Levyasan and He killed it. The reason there is Mazel and Adar, it's the Levyasan, but she's dead.
So why when we leave the sukkah we say Yason?
Because we want to eat her. She's dead. She's been put away. She's refrigerated. She's dead.
In Adar, not in.
We will.
No, not in Tishrei.
There's going to be leftovers that you're going to still have in Tishrei. But with this, the meal starts. Yeah, Sudas Purim is like a page out of the future. So it comes out that when we say that there's no Mazel in Adar Beis, Adar Aleph is the male of Yas. So you say, so then Adar Aleph is a very dangerous month. It was. That's why Hashem castrated the male also. The male of Yasan, Hashem was Mesaris, the male. So Adar was inherently a very dangerous month. By the way, there's an idea that every year that Purim comes, the Gzeira of Haman is looming every year. That's one of the reasons why we fast on Tainus Esther. There is a certain danger in Adar. Adar is a very dangerous time. We have to be mevatel the koyach of Haman. But Haman is the Nachash himself. Haman is very comfortable with these Levyasans because they're like snakes. Now we know why we don't eat these dagim in Adar. Because snakes don't taste good. You don't want to eat snake. I mean, you can dip it in ketchup. It's not. Doesn't go.
How are you catching?
Yeah, I mean, are you going to slice? Are you going to cut it or eat it with a fork? No, you can't eat the snake. We don't eat this type of mazal adar dagim. The male of Yasan, the female of Yasan. Now, fasten your seatbelts. I just want to tell you one more little pocket. It's very hard to say over. I'm just going to tell you the words. There are two kinds of snakes. They're dry land snakes and they're wetland snakes. Dry land snakes are dangerous, but if you get bitten by a dry land snake, Rashi says in Brachos, if you get to the water before the snake gets to the water, you'll be healed. That like Rabbi Chanina ben Doisa. A wetland snake, there's no cure. So Moshe Rabbeinu, when he saw the snake, he was very scared. Because if it was a dry land snake, he would be saved because he's from the water. He's Moshe, Minamayim Mishisiu. But he thought maybe it was a wetland snake. So Hashem said, just grab the tail. You'll see it's a dry land snake. Now, Esther cried out, Keli, Keli, Lama Azavtani. God, God, why have you forsaken me? So Chazal say, Keli, Keli, Keli bayam, v'keli b'yabasha. God in the... you just hold the plug, yeah? God in the dry land and God in the wetland. Because Esther was also... You know what Esther's compared to? A gazelle. Now a gazelle... Any people deliver babies here? Nobody born in Adar Beis. And no, okay. A gazelle has a very narrow rechem. And the baby can't come out. So Chazal say, how does the baby come out? A snake comes and bites the gazelle, and then the rechem opens, and that's how it gives birth. Esther is compared to Ayala. So we're in trouble. She's in trouble. So she needs Haman to, so to speak, bite her, and that brings the Yeshua. But Esther didn't know, is Haman a dry land or is Haman a wetland? And Haman was aiming for Adar Beis because Adar Beis, Moshe Rabbeinu died, so he thought Moshe Rabbeinu, he could be a wetland snake. But it turns out he was mistaken because there's no mazel at all in Adar Beis. Adar Beis, mazalos don't work at all. So friends, we have three shitos in the two Adars. Shita number one is the Lavush. Lavush says, Rabbi Yitz, what's the mazel of Adar Aleph? According to the Lavush? Bucket. Is it Adar? It's not really Adar. We call it Adar, but it's not really Adar. There's only one Adar. Adar Beis. Adar Beis is Dogim. Adar Aleph is Dali. That's the Lavush. Then we have the Marsha Kedushas Levi, Yafa Lalev, Rabbi Yaakov Emden, and others. That both Adars are Adars, and they're both Dogim, and it's Menashe and Ephraim. And then we have Rabbeinu Ephraim, and the Chida, and the Bnei Yissaschar, and the Chizkuni, and Rabbi Yonasan Eibeshitz. Adar Aleph is fish. Adar Beis, there's no mazel. Ein mazel li Yisrael. Adar Beis is a page out of the future. Adar Beis is Sudas Levyasan. There was a mazel in Adar Beis, but the Rebbeinu Shalom killed it. It's like La'asid Lavai when we transcend all the mazalos. That's why the Arizal says every month corresponds to a sense. What's the sense of Adar? Smell. Why smell? Because smell is the only sense that was not used by the sin of Adam HaRishon. Yeah, Adam HaRishon listened to his wife, he saw the tree, he tasted the tree, and he felt the tree, he didn't smell it. Smell was never impugned by the Cheder Eitz Hadas. That's why it says when Mashiach comes, how do you know if someone's Mashiach? Yeah, how do you know if someone's Mashiach? Business card? Mashiach. Yeah, how do you know? He puts... it says the Harichoi B'yiras Hashem. He could smell out a case. Because if somebody's sense of smell is so pristine, that means he's like Adam Rishon before the Chet. So therefore the month of Adar, which is a page out of the future, the sense of Adar is the sense of smell. So we're moving into very rarefied territory. This time of the year, these 60 days of the year, are Yemei Simcha Li Yisrael. Whether you begin being rejoicing, it's a machlokes. Rabbi Yaakov Emden says not yet. Chassam Sofer says we already started. But either way, Adar Beis is coming, and Be'ezus Hashem, Rashi says that Adar are Yemei Nisim li Yisrael. We should be zoicha to see Nisim v'neflois kamay sha'asisa la'avoseinu ba'yamim ha'hem ba'zman hazeh. Have a good night.
Yeah, Rabbi, I have one quick
Sure.
part over here.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.